Hello, welcome back to Drum Camera Reviews. Today, we'll be reviewing the Rollei 35S. Now, I got this camera, I don't know, a few years ago, and it's been my everyday pocket camera up until I got my Olympus Stylus Epics, of course, because, I mean, I like 35 millimeters more than I like 40 millimeter focal lengths, but it's still an amazing camera that I feel like everyone should own. Now, to get into it, it's a very, very simple camera. It's a zone focus camera. It means it doesn't focus through the viewfinder. You got a 40mm f2.8 sonar lens made by Zeiss, incredibly sharp. You've got a bulb to 1/500th of a second shutter speed. And that's basically the main specs of the camera. It does have a meter, but the only way to use the meter is you need a mercury battery. I forget the actual name of the battery, but I'll find it later. Now, the way you actually operate this camera is the lens extends out. Now, if the shutter is cocked, like it is right now, you can push this button, twist the lens, put it back in. Bam. Fits right in your pocket. You extend it out. Now, this camera has a left-hand film advance, which is, I guess, not common mostly because most people just use this or the right hand, but yeah, left hand film advance, kind of cool. And you see here on top of the aperture dial you have your ISO selection, and that would matter if your meter was working, but my meter's not working, so it doesn't matter. Now on the bottom plate you've got your flash bracket, you've got your shutter counter, and you've got your film rewind. You've also got your little lever here that takes the entire bottom plate off. Now, I have film in this camera, so I probably will not be doing that because I don't want to expose it. Now, my film counter doesn't work, so I have no idea how many shots I've taken on this film. Kind of a bummer, but I can fix that just by shooting the entire roll of film and not being a bitch about it. Now, the viewfinder here is pretty big. It's not too bad. You really don't get much with it. You basically only get 40mm frame lines. That's it. Because the only way to focus this is by guessing. You basically have to just judge your distance, set it on the lens itself, and go for it. It's kind of archaic. It's very, very old school, but I mean, hell, they couldn't fit all of the stuff to give it a rangefinder. I mean, there was the rangefinder edition later. This one came out 1974, so I mean, it did its best when it was made. 1974 to 1980, this one was produced in Singapore. About 260,000 were made, which is pretty good. I mean, you could tell it was a very, very popular camera. I mean, it was small, very sharp. You could basically use it to do whatever you wanted. I've shot landscapes with this, I've shot portraits with this. It does everything, but you really need to get the focus right. Oh God. Now, the one other funny thing was about this is the lens. This was a brand new lens made just for the Rollei 35S. The original Rollei 35 had a 40mm f3.5 Tessar lens. Now, the sonar, the original way Zeiss made this was that only the front two elements moved. Now, that was okay, but it didn't get to the close focus that Rollei wanted. So, production was stopped for a year so that Zeiss could figure out how to make the lens focus as close as Rollei wanted, which was 0.9 meters. Now that's not too bad, especially for portraits. And the bokeh on this lens is wonderful. The sharpness is insane. I have a photo. I'll put it up. You can get like zoom in all the way to the hairs on the girl, and they are sharp. Incredible. Like, if I could take this lens and put it on a digital camera, I totally would, but then it wouldn't be on this nice compact body, which I love. Now, the original Rollei 35 was debuted at Photokina in 1966, and at the time it was the smallest 35mm camera ever. Now, that was broken by, I think the smallest one currently is the Minolta TC1, another camera I absolutely love. I need to own it. It's got a 28mm f3.5 lens. Freaking amazing. And also I think it's a Minox. Oh God, I need to look actually what it is. Now the way you adjust the aperture, it actually has an aperture lock, so that when you can turn it forwards and it will stop down. But if you try to turn it back, it won't. There's a little lock right at the bottom here that you have to turn, or you have to push in to be able to turn the aperture. Now if you just hold it in, you can turn the aperture as much as you want. It's nice because it locks it in, so that you don't accidentally set it back. For this, I usually am always at f22, f16, f8. If I'm using Ectar 100, I'm usually at maybe at f5.6, but I've got Superior 800 in here, so I'm sitting at 1/500th of a second at f16, and that's still going to be overexposing the film, which, I mean, Superior can take it. You can usually overexpose color negative film by a few stops, and you'll still retain a good amount of highlight detail. And you're probably thinking, how do they fit all of that stuff into this tiny little camera? Well, I had to take this camera apart way when I first got it, because the rewind lever right here didn't allow me to rewind the film. So I had to pop this entire top plate off, which involved me unscrewing this little right here, popping this off, and surprisingly, the top plate came off very easily. And all it was is there was a little spring in there that wasn't connected properly. I just reconnected that, allowed me to rewind the film. But I have a picture that shows all of the gearing inside of this top plate that I'll post right now. And it's just crazy that Rollei was able to fit all of that into this tiny, tiny little body. And it's crazy thinking that this is a full frame camera. This is a 35mm film camera that is insanely sharp. Like, I can't even explain how just nice it is. It's so precise. Just the focus is so nice. The aperture, the shutter, it's all amazing. And if you really haven't thought about owning a Rollei 35, I would definitely suggest the Rollei 35S. It's so just, I love it. It's so nice to use. It's so much fun. And people always are just like, what is that? It's like, it's got a little strap. You can just put it around your hand. And it's just, no one knows what it is, but people that know cameras know what it is. So you'll probably meet people that have been like, oh, I used to own one of those when I was a kid. And it's just like, you can really chat with people about old film cameras just by, I've met people just because of this camera. And it's crazy that an old film camera from the 70s can get you to meet people. And I love it. It's just nice, it's camaraderie. Now I think that's where I'm gonna end my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked my videos, you can give it a like, send me a comment, tell me how I did, what you would like me to do next time. If you got a camera that you would like me to review, you can shoot me an email. I'll leave my email in the link down below. Yeah, if you like my videos, you want to keep seeing me do this, you can subscribe to my channel. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy talking about cameras. So yeah, I'll see you next week. Later.